Hi, Miss Ford again here. I'm going to talk about transition words as well as sensory details. Okay, so this has to do with our writing. So last week, you should have been writing your personal narrative, and this week we're working on editing and revising it. Okay, and one of the ways that we do that is by adding transition words. Let's take a look at this. I'm going to read a sample, and it says they reached a hard object. It was a bottle with another map. The map took the kids back on shore where they had to use a compass. They walked in that direction and came across a hurt dog by a bush. They came to an old barn. What do you think of that story? Story didn't have any flow to it. Didn't it sound choppy? So one of the things that we could do to fix that is add transition words. So what is a transition word? A transition word is a word or a phrase used at the beginning of a sentence to help vary your sentence structure and show you are moving on to another thought. Okay, it helps us transition, move. All right. You should always use a comma after a transition. Transition words help that writing flow. Okay. Let me read this same story with the new transition words added to it. Eventually, they reached a hard object. They thought it was the priceless treasure, but it was a glass bottle with another map. The map took the kids back on shore where they had to use a compass to find the direction southwest. They walked in that direction and came across a hurt dog by a thorny bush. The dog couldn't walk, so Hillary picked her up and carried her on their search. Then they came to an old abandoned barn. Doesn't that story sound much better now that we've had those transition words added to it? Some of the examples of transitional words for your personal narratives could be something to show relationship. For example, by the same token, comparatively, likewise, similarly, still, together with regard to, in comparison. Some of the words to convey a sequence or a shift in time setting could be after or afterward, as soon as, at first, soon, to begin, to conclude, while, with this in mind, beyond, yesterday, tomorrow, once, and some that you could use to build suspense. Okay, build that up, make it get to that climax and make it the most exciting part. All of a sudden, abruptly, at once, suddenly, unexpectedly, quickly, slowly, without warning. Okay. We're now going to talk about sensory details. Sensory details are things that you would add to your writing to just make it more interesting. Okay. And some of those things would be add figurative language. Remember those similes, those metaphors. For example, if we have, here's our sentence. Okay. Our sentence is, a dog went down the road. If we added figurative language to that, it would say, a dog as tiny as a mouse went down the road. So we're comparing that dog to the size of a mouse. We can add adjectives. Remember, those are those sensory words. They tell you color, size, smell, what it looks like. Okay, let's try it with that sentence. A dog as tiny as a mouse went down the steep road. So now we're describing what kind of road. He didn't just go down the road, he went down a steep road. Okay. We can add adverbs. A dog as tiny as a mouse quickly went down the steep road. So now we know that that dog, who's tiny as a mouse, went, how did he go? He went quickly. Okay. We can add a verb, okay, an exciting verb that will give us a little bit more pizzazz to our writing. For example, a dog as tiny as a mouse quickly bolted down the steep road. So we know that this dog didn't just walk, it bolted. And can you vision that? Can you imagine what that means? Or we can add more sense words. A dog as tiny as a mouse quickly bolted down the steep, rocky road. So we've added, not only is that road steep, it's now rocky. So it's added a little bit more to that. This here is the chart that we would use for transition words. Have fun editing and revising, adding those adjectives and adverbs and figurative language to your personal narrative to make it much more interesting.